Yeah, but I'm not going to do that here.
You're not going to do that here?
Nope.
You said you were bringing that big dick energy to this podcast.
All right, that's enough. That's enough of that. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. I am your honorary host for tonight. On deck tonight, we have Mr. Matt Hopkins.
Hi.
Mr. Hwanchik Kim.
Hello.
And an audio only, but just as crazy, Mr. Ben Steger.
Hello.
Well, guys, Ben is traveling. Have Gun will travel, so I'm running the show, I guess, for tonight. You guys know the drill.
Do a good job, Joel. Do a good job.
I know the expectations set pretty high, I think.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. All right. So you guys know the deal. Everybody comes here with a topic. Who wants to go first?
Mine's not that exciting. It's just the gear stuff.
Okay, you're going at the end. Fuck the gear. We got to leave.
I got it this weekend shooting. So.
All right,
Mr. Matt. Mad about something, Matt?
No, I'm not mad about nothing, dude.
Something funny you're gonna say?
No, probably not.
God damn it.
I'm going to talk about a match I attended recently, right?
I don't have anything any better, so you fire away, dude.
All right. So I just got back from the Utah State USPSA Championship held in Salt Lake City, Utah. You might say, why did I go to Salt Lake City to shoot a state match, right? So this is the question. Originally, I had planned to go to NRA show, but NRA canceled that show, so I had plane tickets for that already bought. So I just moved the plane tickets from going to Houston to Salt Lake City. I was actually gone one less day than planned, so I went and shot Utah State match. They were very accommodating, getting me in at the last minute. They had me on a squad, all ready to go. I actually didn't know anybody on the squad. This is the first time that I've never personally shot with anybody that I haven't known for quite a long time, and it was actually very, very fun.
Oh, cool.
You're living life the way I do now.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a good time. So most of the shooters were from Vegas or California. They were a very, very wide range of skill levels. So they weren't all the same skill level. They all had different divisions they shot. They all basically knew each other, and I was kind of like the outcast that didn't know anybody, but it all worked out. They were very accommodating and talking and everything, and it was really good. A little bit about the match. They had 15 stages. One of them was a chrono, so 14 stages. I think the round count was 200 and I think it was right at 300 rounds. So not super bad. If you divide that out, it's not like 32 rounds per stage or anything like that. So they had a wide variety. They had short courses, they had medium courses, they had long courses. They had single hand shooting. They had a bunch of different activators. They had water on every stage. They had.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, exactly. That's the important part, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had awards for all the class winners. They didn't have overall awards. I don't know if that was just an oversight or that's how they chose to do it. I've never shot the match before. I know this was the first year for the match director, but not the first year for the match. Just could have been that. I would like to see at least overall trophies for the division winners on top of the class trophies. Stages overall were, I would say they were more on a kind of like a fast-paced, like higher hit factor shooting compared to other matches where it's lower hit factor. It's not something I've excelled at in the past, so I was glad to see that I could perform at a certain level that I thought was acceptable on a higher hit factor stage. Getting all the points that I needed to or that were required. They had a very, very, very tough memory stage. And I spent, I think, an hour figuring it out the day before so I could shoot it subconsciously the day after. And that was like our third stage of the first day. So I had to for sure get that stage and memorize that one the day before. If you went up to that stage before, like during your 5 minutes, there's no way you got it. You had mics and FTEs and everything else. So that was about it. They had a 25-yard weekend only shot You had a choice on that. You could either shoot a
Wow.
open paper target or shoot poppers. And they had like freestyle reload weekend only, and you could either shoot the paper or the steel ray. And it went from like 9 to 25 yards on paper and steel. So it was kind of pick your choice. Obviously, I shot the steel weekend only just because margin of error. If I missed it, I knew I would miss it, and I could make it up. So I actually only had one makeup shot on that, so I was actually super proud about that.
You said the first day, Matt. Is it multiple days for shooting?
Yeah, it was. It was multiple days. We shot 9 stages the first day and 6 stages the second day. One of those which was chrono, so it didn't really count, but yeah, it was good. They had a bunch of cowboy props, so we got to run around in like a church chapel and like shoot inside and outside of the church chapel. It was pretty neat. It looked like a cowboy organization or group kind of had main control over the club, so there were cowboy props everywhere, like a saloon, a jail. They had stagecoaches. They even had a mock like train.
Oh wow!
It was pretty neat. We didn't get to shoot around that, but we shot right in front of it. So they had a bunch of props. It was a very professional rain match, so it was very good.
Nice.
Yeah. For me, Utah is definitely one of the states that I expect pretty high. So my experience so far shooting matches in Utah, I've been to Salt Lake City too. According to the experience, when I go Utah, I automatically expect, oh, Utah, they're gonna do a good job putting difficult stages, good challenges, and I see a lot of competitive shooters there, like the two-gun nationals, USPSA two-gun nationals. All the national champions, including lady national champions, were all from Utah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Very cool. Sounds excellent.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever been to Salt Lake City to shoot or any time, so I was there. I was kind of surprised by the mountains around it. And it was good weather. It felt like sups a lot, so mild heat, but there was no humidity, so every time you sweated, it dried off right away. If you weren't watching, you could get dehydrated just because you don't feel wet like from sweat or anything. Just from what I'm used to in the Midwest. So I had to stay on top of my hydration and all that, like more so than normal, just because like you feel sweating and you just drink a ton of water in between. But that was it.
Gotcha. Very cool. That sounds excellent. Mr. Ben, I think you have an interesting topic for us.
Oh, did I tell you what it is?
Well, I know what it is, but I would like to hear more about it. You should tell me more.
Fine. All right. So I don't usually do a trip rundown or whatever, but I took a pretty interesting trip recently, and I thought I'd talk about it. You guys want to get a sense of what my schedule's like sometimes. So I went to Poland for teaching and a match. So I landed at 10 o'clock at night on a Monday, and I had 4 days of classes out at the range, like the normal, shoot all day type of thing, outdoors. Then I had their nationals was going on in Poland over the weekend, which was like an hour and a half from where I was staying. So it was drive out there, shoot 9 stages, drive back to Warsaw. And I did that for a couple days. We'll talk more about the match in a second. And then I had another 4 days of teaching, and then I left.
Holy crap!
I was my legs were pretty smoked by the end of that. I'm not gonna lie. Because I usually walk like 12 to 15 miles a day there when I was teaching. So it was like just on my feet all day.
Wow. Yeah, 2-day class is normally like enough to to make me kind of tired. So
yeah, you get it.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I want to talk about their nationals. It was 18 stages, like I said, shot in 2 days. You either shot from I think 9 to 1 or 2 to 7, something like that. Okay. 2 to 6, whatever it was. Okay, so over the course of these stages, I think there was like 18 stages. They had more than 40 moving targets, I think. Like I remember a couple of medium courses, I think, that had 6 on the same stage. Like 22 round stage with like 6 movers. So like more than half the shots of the stage on moving targets. Like it was super moving target heavy. Really nice people. I really like the shooting culture there. So get this, guys. All the range officers were nice. Nobody was making fucked up calls or anything. That was cool. The competitors were nice. None of them were pushing for anything they didn't deserve or anything like that. So like kind of on both ends, it's a really good environment. I enjoyed that quite a lot. And because there were so many moving targets, people complained. They didn't like that part about the match, and that was okay to do. That didn't like cause a blow up. People were like, hey, there's too many moving targets. And the regional director said that'd be like the president of their organization. It's just like, yeah, there's too many fucking movers. So we're not going to have it here again next year. We're going to move it.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, cool. It was amazing, actually, to be shooting in a functional shooting sports organization. Revolutionary, almost, some might say. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Matt, you look like you were going to start crying from laughter.
No, I'm good. I had to. I'm good.
I'm just saying. So, in a lot of respects, it was a very nice experience.
So
even though, like, and they hated the match. I want to be honest. Like all of that, like their opinion was that the match was crazy. And I put up some footage of the stages on YouTube. All the stages went up or will go up in training group if people want to see them. It was too moving target heavy. In fairness, it was a little goofy. Like the double swinging plate targets, the Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
Matt, you have one at your club. I think the match had 6 of those in it.
Oh wow,
that's a lot.
In 18 stages, and there's a lot more where that came from. Like it was out of control. In fairness.
Yeah, it looked very difficult.
So you just said you shot, what did you say, 9 stages?
Correct. Yeah.
In 4 hours?
Yeah. That's what happened. It was okay. So 8-person squads. So I did talk with the regional director. The regional director there is super smart. And like I said, that's the president, essentially. Think of it the same guy, same role. Just smart, and he understood matches. And he made very clear to me that the match I was shooting was not like other matches in Poland. The other matches are way better. He made sure I understood that. It's unusual there to see a squad over 10. You're almost never going to see it.
Wow.
The squad I shot on was 8 people.
Was it self-resetting, Ben?
No.
What?
Come on, dude. It was Nationals. Nationals, Joel.
I just had to ask the question.
No. Ain't nobody got time for that shit at Nationals. It's an important match there. They take it seriously. They don't run it like a club match where, just making that distinction. Just so you understand that.
What about I know it was very heavy in moving targets. Were they consistent? Did they have any different takes or anything differently that we don't do as far as?
Indeed they did. So again, these were controversial targets, but they had up-down bobbers set 13 to 15 yards away, leaving 6 inches or less of the target exposed, and no shoot underneath it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I shoot on movers a lot sometimes, and it was stuff like, being honest, like I can't do it every time, and I don't know anybody that can, and I know a lot of the guys. So, I mean, they had stuff like it was too much, in that way.
Yeah.
But at least they made it consistent and put it everywhere in the match, So it's like, oh, you got hammered on stage 3, just wait for stage 4.
The one video posted on, I think, Facebook and Instagram, that up-down bobber that you just explained, that looked like a very, very spicy target. Like,
yes, you look at that and you're like, fuck me.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn.
I was like, wow, that's an aggressive target.
Yes, that's a very aggressive target. Yeah, but the shooting culture there, like I said, was really good. It's a good way of solving problems. Like there was one RO that was a dickhead, honestly, like to our squad, and I don't think he's going to be working the Nationals again. You know what I mean? It's like, again, it was just having that kind of attitude. It's amazing. It's crazy what it does for you.
Wow, sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, I I think we should go to the next. I don't want to make you hyperventilate anymore, Joel, about the crazy stuff I might say. So we can move on to Hwansik if you'd like.
Perfect. I think that's an excellent idea.
Before we go into that, I saw a footage of Polish Extreme Open too.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that's a good match.
Well, that's run by Lubor Novak.
Right.
Because it's very close to the Czech Republic. So it's basically run by the same crew as would do it in Hodenice in Czech. So yes, I think that's a good match. It would kind of, if you're an American thinking about flying to one of those two, it would just come down to where you like the gun laws better, basically, where it's easier to get in. But I should tell you, this year there was no helpers at the Czech match. That was self-reset, but the one in Poland did have helpers, and you were not resetting.
Because somebody's going to ask, Ben, any issues flying to Poland with guns?
No, I mean,
Granted, you're kind of a veteran at the process.
There's nothing in particular. It's a bunch of bullshit you have to do. It's just a bunch of paperwork you have to sort out ahead of time. And it's always the same story. You're going to get to the border, and you're going to have all the right stuff, and the border guard's going to want to call their boss, because here's this situation I've never had before. It's pretty much the same story everywhere.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not a big deal. You just have to do the legwork.
All right, Mr.
Did you
Kim.
shoot white or brown targets?
I had white for my classes and brown in the match.
Okay. Polish Extreme had white shoot targets, red no shoots.
Yes, indeed.
Interesting. So, only thing I could say is kind of think about that if you're planning on shooting an IPSC match, that you might not be shooting brown cardboard targets. They might be white.
Yes, which is objectively better.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason for that? Is it like a terrain thing or a contrast thing, or?
It's a contrast thing, I think, is why they started doing that.
Okay.
It's IPSC matches. I mean, it is way higher contrast. You can definitely see what's happening a lot more easily.
Sure.
You can't see the scoring rings any more easily, but you can definitely see where stuff's landing.
Yeah, you're right.
And you have a lot of contrast against your sight.
I could definitely see that against your sight. That would be, I think, quite a bit different.
So it's definitely better in that way. If you want a higher contrast, kind of like, I guess you'd say it's easier.
Okay. Professor,
my turn.
What would you like to talk about, sir?
Yes. So Carry Optics Nationals is coming pretty soon. So I finalized my match gun. Of course, hopefully everybody's shooting Carry Optics Nationals. Your finalized ammo, you finalized your gun setup, hopefully. Hopefully backup gun as well. Pretty important. Especially in Carry Optics, the optic is one of the finicky one. So I kind of wanted to talk about the optic, my final setup, because it's different than the last year or the year before. So the year before, I was shooting Romeo 3 Max, and the year prior to that, I was shooting SRO, and the year before that, I was shooting Delta Point. So I actually shot many different optics at this point, but not necessarily like many different companies. I haven't tried what's the one? The 510C company, which is popular.
Holosun?
Yes, Holosun is very popular. I haven't personally owned one, but I've tried my friends, which I heard his broke somewhere around 20,000 rounds. Delta Point, before they made an improvement in the circuit board, I was breaking around every 7,000, broke like 10 of them. So that's why I got into SRO 2.5, and I shot that in 2019 Nationals. It's running really good. However, the problem at the match, it was in Utah. The sand got into it too, and there was double dot. So basically, if you're shooting facing the sun, there's a fake dot on your window. Especially when there's dirt, it kind of glares even bigger. So it's really hard to differentiate which is the real one or the fake one. So basically, I can say the fake dot is about 2.5 MOA size. And if you're shooting 2.5 MOA, which I was at the time, it's going to be very difficult to see which one's which. And then last year, I shot Romeo 3 Max in a 3 MOA. So basically, when I switched SRO to Romeo Max, I really didn't see much of a difference. both are circular window, optic height, very similar. So it was just natural transition. But they break too. Mine broke. It started breaking at around like 5,000, like zero changing, and then there's an easy fix to that. But at around 20,000 rounds, just optic just gave up. Every recoil, the dot is just disappearing, and then after a couple shots, it's appearing again. And then SRO, I've been shooting in practice with SRO, with even if I'm shooting Romeo 3, because the footprint, everything looks the same, index is the same. So my practice gun SRO has 120,000 rounds plus on that SRO. At that 120,000 rounds, it kind of glitched a little bit, but then I kept messing around with the lock mode, what it is, and then it started functioning properly too. So it's still functioning properly right now. But since there is that issue with the fake dot, I tried 5 MOA SRO, and also I tried 6 MOA Delta Point, because the Delta Point circuit board is now much better. I have shot the Delta Point 6 MOA first half of this year with pretty good success. But then when I'm shooting facing the sun, the Delta Point brightness setting wise, it doesn't have as high of a setting as SRO or Romeo Max. So it doesn't get super bright, like a sun glare to, super bright. So when I'm shooting the sun, against the sun, the dot is not anymore red. It's almost like a orange color. So it's kind of washed out orange color. And if you're facing the sun, in the morning time especially, the background may be orange-ish too. So it's not as bright. So I was pretty feeling uncomfortable when I was shooting facing the sun. So now when I shoot SRO 5 MOA, yes, there's a fake dot in the sun. However, the fake dot size is like 2.5 MOA at the brightest. However, when I shoot 5 MOA, since the dot is fatter, I can differentiate which is a fake one and which is the real one a lot easier. So I'm shooting SRO 5 MOA. The only one downside with the SRO is that double fake dot. The window quality is not as on par, but the reliability cannot be beaten. And also the price point isn't as expensive as Romeo Max. It's slightly more than Delta Point. So price range wise, it's worth investing because it's going to last pretty much forever. So this is something that I would recommend people really look into, because I understand how people would like to go Holosun, because the price, I think Holosun is the cheapest out of all the brand names I mentioned over here. In terms of price, yeah, it may be good, but if you think about it's going to break, then actually spending maybe a couple $100 more, or maybe it's not even a couple more. Last one I bought 5 MOA one was $500 shipped. I'm not sure how much is Holosun, but if you kind of think about the round count wise, SRO is definitely worth going.
And Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Can I share my experiences with my SROs?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So I have a couple of Glock 34s that I have SROs on. I use for work. I've had the guns for, I don't know, 2 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 years. I mounted the dots.
Yeah.
To the instructions, turned them on and left them on.
Mm-hmm.
I left both dots on for 1.5 years, and then I caved in and changed the batteries on both. They never turned off. I mean, they were just on the whole time. I shot I don't know, 30 to 50,000 rounds each gun. I don't know exactly. Mostly gold dots, so relatively spicy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had even the dots shift to 0. And I do not take care of them. I'm not nice to my stuff. I rack them off the dots. I rack the dot on tables. So my experience is very good. Like, as far as with that track record, for me personally, I could give a shit about a double dot. I leave my glass covered most of the time anyway, so I don't experience the glare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the battery life is definitely one upside too. Like Delta Point, Romeo Max, that definitely requires more battery change pretty often. Also, if you're looking into good carry optic option, so if you are consider carrying or something, 5 MOA is really good option. It has a auto brightness adjust setting, so depends on where you draw the gun. If it's against the sun or if it's in your bathroom with the light off, the brightness adjusts automatically. I experienced 2.5 is a little too small for pistol shooting. If you're shooting rifle and shooting 100 yards, 2.5 will be okay. But 5 MOA auto adjust.
Can I just
really
add one more thing?
Yes,
please.
My SROs are both 2.5s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's too small, but what I can tell you is I have exactly the ones Swansek told me to buy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this is his fault.
The funny thing is, if you actually compare 5 MOA and 2.5 side by side at a highest adjustable brightness setting, it looks about the same because both are so bright enough to make it super glary. So you're not going to be able to tell if it's a 5 MOA or 2.5, but only when you're looking through the sun, the glare disappears because it kind of washes it out. In that case, I can tell at the brightness setting, highest brightness setting, this is 5 and this is 2.5. And that's why I can differentiate fake dot versus a real dot. That's the only difference I find on both of them. Carry Optics National this year is going to be the biggest nationals, and I'm pretty excited. It's like almost 300 people signed up for Carry Up Nationals and 290 for Open. So I think it's going to be the biggest nationals ever for one division.
It's definitely going to be very interesting.
Yes.
The competition is very, very high there. I was looking yesterday actually, and there are like 49 grandmasters.
Wow.
And like 72 or 70 something masters. So there's over 110 masters and grandmasters in the match.
Yep.
If you're literally just looking at classes, that's just one way to see how steep the competition will be.
Should be interesting, Mr. Kim. I'm sure you'll get some footage. You'll drop it on Training Group.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Be looking forward to that.
Sounds awesome.
Yes. I'm saving my energy for that for sure. So I'm playing computer game and drinking some whiskeys.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be seeing you very soon next week, buddy.
Yes, and I also brought the same dots. Professor told me to 2.5 SROs because, well, to be honest, the fact that two things sold me: the Kim having like over 100,000 rounds at the time on them with no failures, and then knowing what Ben does with his guns, knowing how Ben, I would put you on the spot, like knowing that Ben doesn't really take care of those guns. And knowing the ridiculous amount of gold dots that get shot through those guns.
Joel, you want to know something funny?
Tell me.
I cannot, I have to think about it before I field strip my Glocks because I've done it so infrequently.
I know.
And I would need, I'm not saying I can't take the slide apart or the frame apart, but I need to consult reference material to do that. I don't do that stuff a whole lot.
But the obnoxious amount of hot gold dot plus P ammo that's went through those guns, the dots still hold up and track and zero. Man, sign me up. I don't have patience for stuff that doesn't work. So
yeah,
I think that's super impressive. And yeah, like you guys said, just put tape over the glass. Even if you had just a stage where gonna get glare or shooting into the sun, just tape the front of the lens just for that stage. Even that alleviates the issue. So.
That's a good way to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's just for that stage, if you don't like it for the whole match. Okay, briefly, I have a topic I want to talk about. I guess it would be this week in shooting, I suppose. I want to talk about changing shooting techniques. So I have a friend that I've worked with quite a bit. I've done several private lessons with. He has, like everyone, he has some habits that may not be optimal. I don't really want to discuss the specifics of the issues because some people will lose the point. But he's really trying hard to make this change. And he works on it for months. I check in with him. He's still trying. He's just not getting where he wants to. It's not working, whatever. I keep working at it. This is what's happening. We go back to it. I train with him. He goes back to his old way. Instantly, results spike. Noticeably better. It's way less frustrating. I mean, he's getting to the point where it's man, I don't know what to do. I want to change this. It's just not happening. And again, it's let's just go back, do it like your other way. Don't think about it. he gets better results. It's like, what does this mean? So I think it's worth talking about trying new things or techniques, a change you want to make, and how much effort you should make towards making the change, when it's time to give up, and if it's really defeat or not. I think are kind of the things worth talking about. So in my mind, like, you give something an honest try. So like this guy, you try it. It's not like one dry fire session, and I'm like, nope, that doesn't work. Time to go back to the way I was doing it. But if you try something for, a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, depending on what the change is, and you get kind of a gut feel like, hey, this is better, I think this is worth pursuing. Or if it's not working, you're having very terrible results, frustrating, it's just not happening, then like, don't feel like a failure. That just means it's not going to work for you. And some people shoot, people have like cross-eye dominance, or some people shoot with things that we wouldn't call necessarily conventional, like the way we would teach it. But that's just like, that's the way it is. So anyway, I think that's just kind of, I don't really have anywhere else to go with it other than, try new things. And if it doesn't work, don't feel like, you want to rage quit because it didn't work, but also give it an honest try, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. I sometimes tell people to look at it in terms of data collection rather than pass or fail. Because let's say like you shoot doubles drill and you try teacup shooting, and it's just group size is just way too bad, and you cannot get like 3-inch group, let's say 0.2 second splits. With teacup, when you try that, just notice like why it was failing. Like, okay, I wasn't able to grip with the support hand properly, things like that. And then as you collect the data, you start realizing, okay, this is maybe the pressure I need on the support hand. And maybe I should be locking the joints a little bit better. So like wrist is flopping, and you start noticing those failure points and analyzing things. And then your brain may start developing different sensations. Like your brain now start thinking about, okay, this is how much I need to lock my joint, or this is how much I need to grip my fingers with. Like I got to curl the fingers or palm pushing, whatever it is. The brain starts to think and find the right ways. So it's not really necessarily about pass or fail. It's about data collection and analyzing why that happened.
Would that be, Kim, your phrase, don't criticize, analyze?
Yes.
To be fair?
Just analyze. Yep.
Yeah, like what's happening? Is this better or not? Give it an honest try. And if it's worth pursuing, that's cool. And if not, like, at least you tried it.
Yep. Good stuff.
Good.
Can I tell you, I'll add one little thing.
Please.
I think it's funny. Nothing makes me smile more, but maybe a little devilish smile, when I see a guy like in a class, for example, it'll be like he's doing things one way, then I'm like, hey, try it this way. Like, try gripping a little differently. He does one build drill with this different grip, I'm telling him, and he's like, nah, dude, it's not for me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It doesn't work. It's like, dude, seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So I think there are extremes on both sides of it.
Yep.
And in some cases, it's going to get worse before it gets better, because, like what Ben just said, like trying to make a change where, like, hey, why don't you just try actually hanging on to the gun with your support hand? Like, nope, it's not working. I don't want to do this. It's like, well, maybe you should, like, give it more than 8 rounds or 6 rounds to try it.
It's kind of like stock market. You buy something in the downfall, and it's keep going down, and you think it's never going to go up, and you give up. And then as soon as you sell that stock, the stock goes up.
Yes.
Yep.
This is true. Well, guys, I think this was a bang-up podcast. What do you guys say?
Their best work.
Probably not, but okay. Listeners, if you have a question you want the answer to, go to my website. It's bensteger.com. Send me your question. We'd love to hear from you.